Today is the spring equinox. Happy equinox, everybody. I want to clarify a few minor points from the service thus far for all of the fact checkers in the congregation, of which there are many. Day and night are not exactly equal during the equinox. As I said, there are actually a few more minutes of daylight than night due to atmospheric refraction. According to at least one source, the worm moon, which looks so bright and beautiful through my bathroom window this morning, may not actually have been named for worms wriggling in the ground. It may have been named for beetle grubs wiggling out of the bark of trees, which is still pretty cool, but a little different. And then despite what you may have heard, you are no more nor less likely to balance an egg on its side during the equinox than any other day of the year, which doesn't mean you shouldn't try it just for fun today anyway. It is ironic, perhaps, that the spring equinox is characterized as a time of balance, when the season it kicks off is so gloriously immoderate and seemingly unbalanced in its energies. Spring is a time, here in the northern hemisphere anyway, certainly in the Midwest, of fluctuating temperatures, unpredictable weather, furious storms of wind and rain, of new life bursting from the earth in all directions, of animal exuberance, of fertility and fecundity, all the good letter F words. Even the normally laid-back sport of basketball is characterized by madness in this season. Spring is spring, sprang, sprung, it's sprongy, it's energy, it's an earth song, and we've all been waiting so long for an earth song, especially after this long winter of COVID discontent. And things do feel different this time, a little, don't they? I'm hesitant to even say that because none of us know what the next months will bring or what 2022 will bring. But coming out of Omicron does feel like the end of something and the beginning of something else. And as we start to move out into this, whatever this now is period we're in, I invite you as always to be mindful of where your body and emotions are and go at the pace that works for you as we enter into this newness. Because there's a lot of pent-up desire to do things, right? There's a lot of pent-up desire to travel, to socialize, to congregate, to celebrate in public. Not for everyone, of course. Not everyone is a natural congregator. Shout out to the introverts. But still, just think of all the big life events that people were maybe not able to celebrate or solemnize in the way they wanted to these past years. Weddings, graduations, births, deaths, birthdays divisible by 10. We'll be making it up collectively now, kind of all at once. So go at the pace that works for you. You may want to do all the things, but you don't have to do all the things. You may find that being unmasked in public spaces feels like sweet, sweet freedom. You may find it feels anxious. You may find it just feels kind of weird. Group activities and socializing may feel healing and restorative, or they may feel tiring. If you're someone who's at high risk for COVID, like someone who is immunocompromised, you may be navigating this latest round of rule changes with a lot of questions and concerns still. So go as slow as you need to. Honor the needs of your body, and don't be surprised if things just feel a little weird at first. As we gather in communities like this one, like we are today, let's give each other a little grace, recognizing that everyone is moving at a different pace. We're all learning a little bit how to be social in public again. Right? Some people are comfortable with hugs, some are not. Some handshakes, some not. Even after this church goes mask optional, which it will eventually, some people will still want to mask and others won't. Let's give each other grace and space to be where we're at as we find a new balance in how we do things in this community. Now, balance is an interesting concept. We can think of the word balanced as being synonymous with moderate or stable. Yet you can balance a scale with offsetting extremes at both ends. And a dynamic system sometimes achieves a steady state, not as like a stable, placid equilibrium, but as swinging from one extreme state to its opposite, back and forth, balanced but imbalanced, returning to center and then off to another extreme. We seem to see the former in our politics with a vanishing middle and these extremely polarized positions on both ends. I feel like we're seeing the latter in the way we whipsaw back and forth between liberal and conservative actions and counteractions, between social change and social retrenchment, opening and closing, all of it generating a lot of heat and light and noise, but I'm not sure how much actual progress. Well, the ancient Greeks had a word for a character trait, a virtue that they called sophrosune. It's a complicated, multifaceted concept contained in this one word. Cicero needed like 4 different Latin words to translate it for the Romans. But the idea is, it's the quality of self-possession in a balanced personality that leads to traits like modesty, temperance, good judgment, moderation, restraint. For the Greeks, sophrosune was one of the most important virtues in life. And it isn't, understand, it's not like prudishness, it's not being repressed, it's not about being boring or uptight, it's more about being grounded and well-balanced in our personality. Plato considered it as a harmony between one's rational self and one's emotional or spirited self, between the reason, the emotions, the desires, so that no one part of the self dominates our character or our actions. This concept of sophrosune, or balance, was so important to the ancient Greeks that the words "nothing to excess" were inscribed on the entrance to the temple of Apollo at Delphi, home of the famous Oracle of Delphi. It is actually one of just 3 maxims carved into the entrance. The other maxims were "know thyself," and of course, proud sponsor of the Olympic Games. I'm kidding. The third has something to do with not making foolish promises, and honestly, the translation is a little uncertain. But the maxim, "nothing to excess," definitely carved on the temple. And in one sense, it's very old school Unitarian. The Unitarians came out of Puritanism. They drank deep from this New England culture of like reserve and self-control and rational self-improvement. The Unitarians were famously very suspicious of immoderate displays of enthusiasm in religion, the kind of shouting and dancing and confessing and carrying on that you would see in revivals in the 18th and 19th century. The Unitarians were having none of that. And it's easy to misunderstand them, our religious ancestors, as being against feeling. And that's wrong, that's not correct. Our Unitarian ancestors believed that religion should stir up deep wells of love and affection in the heart and should transport the spirit to wonder and exaltation, but it should do it quietly and not so as to disturb the reason or the bodies in the pews, sophrosune. Ralph Waldo Emerson called it corpse-cold Unitarianism, and that probably wasn't fair, but maybe it was a little fair. But I wonder if that admonition, "nothing to excess," applies to moderation itself. Because first of all, it can be fun to be unbalanced. A cartwheel is unbalanced. It derives its energy and propulsion and fun precisely from this unbalanced motion that is somehow also still balanced in its own way. It begins and ends in balance, but it traverses this joyful imbalance. Not everyone is going to want to go slow coming out of COVID. I've read theories that the Roaring '20s were in part a response to the Spanish flu that so shut down the world from 1918 to 1920. And if that is true, then look out, because the 2020s are about to get wild, right? The unbalanced compression in our lives caused by COVID might be followed by an unbalanced decompression. Now that we are finally able to move about the cabin again like a spring in one of those novelty cans, you take the top off and whoosh, we've been sprung. I expect the art of the next 10 years to be amazing. And if what your spirit needs right now is some playful imbalance, recognize it for what it is and do that. Set whatever boundaries on it you need to be set, right? Be safe and feed your spirits. There will be other times when our lives will become deliberately unbalanced in other ways because of a choice we've made or a goal we're pursuing. When I made the decision to enter seminary to become a UU minister, I knew with a certainty that my life was about to become very unbalanced for at least the next 3 years. Because it isn't possible to go to seminary full-time and work full-time and have any kind of reasonable work-life balance. It just can't happen, right? And we knew that as a family going in. So we were able to prepare for it, and still it was sometimes hard having a life that unbalanced, and there were costs to it, but we also knew there was an end point, right? It wasn't an open-ended imbalance. And any intense venture is often like that. Schooling, artistic or athletic training or competition, starting a business or a nonprofit, launching a political campaign, launching a social crusade. When we do these things, we are inviting imbalance into our lives for a period for a good reason. Hopefully, we do that with the support and understanding of our people. And it's not easy, and there is often a cost that we believe is worth it. And coming out of COVID now, a lot of people are reevaluating their lives' priorities. And they're making new plans, and they're dreaming new dreams. And so we should expect 1,000 ships to be launched metaphorically in the next few years, an armada of ideas and hopes and dreams. And if this is you, then you may be deliberately entering a new period of imbalance in your life. And that is wonderful. And also recognize that we're coming out of a period of imbalance. So honor your need for rest and healing even as you start out in this bold new direction. Be aware that the people you ordinarily think of as your support people may have greater needs for healing and rest than you're used to, just like you may have a greater need for healing and rest than you are used to. We're seeing some of this at UUI. There's a lot of energy at UUI right now. I mean, it's amazing. We are seeing new groups appear, new projects appear. We are making big plans for the future. We are reimagining this campus. We are reimagining how we do church. We have a committee that is doing this work with the Afghan refugees. It's so amazing. If you don't know all about it, I hope you do come learn about it tonight because it is amazing what this church is accomplishing. And it's really exciting. And at the same time, we're going to be finding a new balance in how we connect together. And we're discovering new things about who we want to be. And so I invite this community to also honor its needs for rest and healing as well. As we take on all of this newness, we may find that underneath it all, there's a need for rest and healing that also needs to be honored and acknowledged. Sometimes we will be together because we're doing important church things, and sometimes we should probably be together just to be together. And I recommend you create plenty of opportunities in life just to be together with the people that you need to be with. And I want to briefly lift up people in our community who may be going through some other kinds of life imbalance during this time of transition, because they've been less visible and less connected in the last 2 years. And those are parents and caregivers, right? Every new parent willingly accepts a period of imbalance because that first year or two with a new baby is something else. Alex and Shelby, I'm just saying. It's beautiful and it's overwhelming and it's exhausting and sometimes it's all-consuming. And so new parents really need our support because it's so much. And we've just had 2 years where those new parents weren't as present. So as they are present, I invite us as a congregation to support them and support the new parents in your life and then support every other kind of parent in your life because parenting has been so hard during the pandemic. I'm thrilled that the Religious Exploration Program is opening back up for in-person here at UUI. And I want to say we've been running an amazing virtual program continuously for 2 years now. I want to give recognition to our Director of Lifespan and Religious Exploration, Suzanne Hinson-Rieger, the amazing, yes, thank you. She has been doing amazing and innovative work with that program, and it will continue. Virtual RE is a thing we do now. Zoom Church for Kids happened out in the social hall just this morning between 10 and 10:30. But Zoom hasn't worked for all families, so I'm also glad that kids and families are connecting on campus again as well. And it's been a long 2 years for many of our families. So please support them as they come back, and please support our religious exploration program in any way you can, because it's a life-saving program and parents need it. It's a wonderful thing. And I just also want to lift up that other forms of caregiving can be like this too, right? Caregiving for loved ones and family members who need significant care can also feel very all-consuming. And this is often not something that happens on a timing of anyone's choosing. We probably don't control when we need care, although most of us will need significant care at some time in our lives. And caregiving of this kind may not have any kind of defined or foreseeable time period, which is one of the challenges of dealing with it emotionally. And then the added isolation of COVID has increased that burden. So caregivers really need our support too. And as we open back up, hopefully they can get more of it. And if you know someone who is caregiving like this, you might reach out and find what seemingly little thing you can do, because even an afternoon off can be a precious gift for someone who is doing intensive caregiving, can help restore just a little balance to their lives. And I'm hoping that as we come back together in a community, this will be an opportunity for all of us to generously support one another and help us find just a little bit more balance in our lives where we need it. As I look back over this year, this church year that started in September officially, I noticed that a lot of my preaching has been about finding and restoring balance in one way or another. Finding balance in our relationship to work, finding balance in our relationship to our possessions, finding balance in the pace of our lives, finding balance in our relationship with the natural world, finding balance between dreaming for the future and being mindfully present in the now. And I'm not surprised that this has been a theme, because the world has been so unbalanced in so many unhealthy, unhelpful ways. And the health of the body is found in balance. And once balance is restored, the body has powerful healing mechanisms that can go to work. And the earth is like that. And so are our spirits, and so is this community. As we navigate finding our way to a new balance in our personal lives, in our work, in our communities, here at UUI, let's allow ample time for rest and healing, ample time to grieve, ample time to reconnect, ample time to play. Take it slow when you need to. Turn cartwheels when you need to. Let's be open to the playful exuberance of spring, to the healing energies of the earth, the invitation of life to creativity and creation. There is something new emerging here. May we find in this newness a balance that better honors our needs, our spirits, and our earth. Blessed be. Amen.